right, let's have a topic.
Okay.
Did you want to pick a topic?
I have a topic. So, so I had a very interesting last like 24 hours.
Ooh.
So it was one of my best friends in the world birthday. And me, her, and a very good friend of hers, like literally sat on my balcony yesterday and we ordered wine and ordered food and we had like the best. Our stomachs hurt from laughing so much. Like
Hallelujah.
it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. It was like a beautiful, like kind of foggy, misty day in New York. And but we had been drinking all day and didn't really eat. And then we had a party to go to. And we go to this party in the city, and it ended up going really bad. Like me and my friend, who I love and adore, had like I was yet screaming at her, which I don't do. I'm not a screamer, but I had
Yeah.
just so lost my patience. And I literally just got in a cab and left, like just came home. I was like in bed by 10 o'clock and but felt terrible. And I felt terrible for a number of reasons. One being like she was just having a moment. She's going through a lot in her personal life. And I think it just came out in a kind of shitty way and I couldn't control her. I couldn't stop her. I couldn't, as much as I tried, everything I seemed to say just didn't go well, didn't go right. And I woke up this morning being like, you drink too much. Like, that is the problem.
Mm.
You drink too much. And it really scared me. Like, it really scared me. And she came over and like I gave her a hug and told her I loved her. And I do, I love this woman to death. And I would do anything for her. But I was also, I think I was more upset with the fact that like she was also out of control. And it was just I mean, it was one of those it was such a yin yang day where it was like this perfect, beautiful afternoon to like it just went off the rails. And I was like, I really have to give that a lot of thought. Like, am I an alcoholic? Am I not an alcoholic? I know I know that I've possibly been, and maybe that's like denial, right? That I have an addiction to alcohol.
That's not denial. That's out and out admitting, if that's what you're saying.
Well, that's what I see, and that's where I'm struggling because I didn't really think I did. And now I'm like, have I always, or oh, have I been in denial that maybe I should have been in AA? And like with my ex, he definitely did, and he went to AA and quit drinking. But it's like, I drink a lot,
Mm.
especially since COVID, like, especially when COVID was happening. And like, I started drinking, I didn't even really like wine. I mean, I drank wine before, but I definitely started drinking more during COVID.
You know, I'm not an expert. Well, I am an expert on addiction, in all fairness, because I've been there. Different addiction though, right?
Mhm.
So I wonder if you are asking yourself these questions, do you not deserve the opportunity to investigate? Like, so other than, other people making judgments, which we're going to push aside for a moment, what really matters is you, right? And why would it be wrong of you to for a moment say, hey, you know what, I don't like how this makes me feel, or I don't like how I'm reacting, I don't know if I have a problem, but I'm gonna take a moment and investigate my options, right?
Yeah. And I think too, it will be telling if I tell myself, look, like, how about I just do a dry month, dry chew, and if I can't do that, then that's a problem,
Right.
right? Like maybe that's an indication. of the fact that I just possibly need to remove it from my life, period. Like if I can't, and I think part of what scares me a little, for a lot of people, they can have a glass of wine at dinner and that's it. I am not one of those people.
Okay.
Like if I am drinking to have a good time.
Okay.
And maybe that's where I'm saying I'm in denial or I'm fooling myself, because I would say 75, the majority of the time, like I'm happy. I'm not like in a bad mood. I'm not, it's not like, at least I don't think I'm masking something or trying to numb anything. I can look back in the years past and I definitely did, like no question. I absolutely know that I did. And then I remember I changed it to a rule of being like, okay, so only drinking if I'm with friends or family, or like for dinners and going out and for the social bonding and the social experience. And now I even look at it and I'm like, do I really need to even drink to have a good time?
Yeah.
Like, and if that's the case, there's some, like, I just need to really think about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any drastic, but it kind of scared me, you know? It's like, I- I don't want it to impact like relationships.
And it has.
And it has, because I possibly, even last night, like, I mean, I actually think I made the right judgment by just getting in a cab and leaving before anything
Yes.
was irreversible or got out of control. But like, it wouldn't have escalated or gotten to that point had I not been drinking.
Right. And the other thing is, and this is just me, right? So, because I am not an expert, I'm just going to tell you an observation.
Sure.
And because you just said something that triggered me, right? And that is, if you have to make a rule, something's up.
Yeah.
And that's because I had to make a rule for myself, right? Like I started making these rules, and now I see it as, and it doesn't mean you are all into anything, right? And I don't even care what it is. It could be chocolate for that matter, right? If you have to start making rules, at least take a moment, give yourself some time to reevaluate, because making rules means you realize something's happening, right? Like, oh, wow, I got to make a rule about that. Otherwise.
But that's kind of tricky too, because I feel like rules are a good thing. If you can stick with them, if they're realistic, right? Like,
Absolutely. But that's why I'm not saying you have to give it up, right? All I'm saying is, if you are making rules, it's something is happening, right?
Yeah,
something, right? Because I didn't give up sex. I made rules and I follow them.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I'm not an alcoholic. I can have one glass of wine with dinner. And as a matter of fact, I don't get drunk.
I know you've never been drunk.
Because I don't want to. I've got a million other things I want to do. I got plenty of other vices. Don't get me wrong, right? Alcohol, drugs and alcohol isn't one of them. So that's why I this is not coming from a place of judgment. I'm never going to tell someone to stop drinking. I will tell people to stop doing drugs, but that's just me. But I not to judge them, but I do encourage people that are like, sums up, and I don't like the way this makes me feel, or I don't like the end result of that evening, to allow themselves to adjust. It doesn't mean you have to stop drinking entirely. I have friends that still do drugs, right? They do what works for them, and I don't judge that. It is what it is. And there's still people that I love. So I'm like, I love that you're willing to evaluate, though. I think that in and of itself is more adult than a lot of people. And I think that's, some people just need to get there, right? And just be like, I don't like how this makes me react.
Yeah.
I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't like the end result, right? Like that, your end result that you had last night, you didn't love.
But I will tell you one thing I did love.
Oh, do tell.
It was on one of the social platforms. I don't know, but I got an advertise. No, I take it back. It was a podcast. I was listening to a podcast for it. Heard this ad for ZBiotics. Have you heard of ZBiotics? So they must know that I drink. So ZBiotics is a prebiotic that it comes in a little glass thing. So I ended up buying it to try it there, and me and my girlfriends each had one before, and you drink it before you drink, and then there's no hangover. And let me tell you, it worked like magic.
Oh, wow.
I could not believe it. Like, we drank a lot yesterday. I mean, and we were having so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, yeah.
But you probably could have had that same amount of fun with half the amount of alcohol.
100%.
And not that again, that's I'm not judging, right? I'm just saying maybe that's why for me it's a glass of wine, then a glass of water, right?
And that's what we could have totally done. And we kind of did. Like, all of us did have glasses of water. It's not like it was just, but it was still over so many hours. That was the thing, is we started so early.
Yeah.
And it just kept going. But like, we were texting with each other earlier. I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm giving it a 6. Like, I woke up, I was terrified to wake up this morning. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have the worst headache. It's gonna take me all day to recover.
Yeah.
And no,
and look at you.
I went and did yoga this morning. I was watching my friend's dog. I walked the dog. I was like, I felt great.
Wow, that's awesome.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. And they both, same thing. They said they felt like nothing.
Now, it's total along the same lines, but so I had a friend here where in order to help her stop drinking, she took these pills that if you take the pills and then you drink alcohol, it makes you deathly ill, like sick to your stomach, nauseous. So yeah, there's another option for you. So she would stop drinking while she was taking the pills, obviously, and then she'd start up again. But I thought that was interesting. We make drugs for everything. They make drugs to help you lose weight.
Yeah.
So interesting. You know what? You know that we support you. When I say we, I mean me and the girls.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide. But I would just again reiterate, if it's a concern for you and you're making rules, it's okay to investigate your options, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's a kind of what it's about. And like, this man I'm dating, he doesn't drink very much. And he has made comments to me about my drinking bothering him. And he has an aunt that he had who died of cirrhosis of alcohol. So it's something that's very sensitive. He's very sensitive about. And the combination, all of it, definitely is giving me pause of, and you read more about how horrible alcohol is for your system. And I've really been struggling to lose weight. And I guarantee you that's a big part of it.
Yep. Yeah. For me too, right? Because although I do not get drunk ever, I do drink. Right. I don't drink a lot, but right. I do drink. And I'm like, oh yeah, how many calories is this adding? Although I will jokingly tell people, if I'm going to get my calories, I'd rather it be from gin than, a chocolate cake. But the other thing I wanted to tell you was, because we were talking about your partner not drinking, because I did for a brief amount of time in my life date an alcoholic. He lived with me, as a matter of fact. And I will not do that again, ever. And I know what I was going to say. I'm going to make a very grandiose, flippant statement, but never in my lifetime or in the history of reading about other people's lifetimes has alcohol ever made anybody a better person. Right?
That's a really interesting, yeah.
I can't think of anybody it's made a better person of. I'm not saying it makes them bad. Not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it doesn't make you better than who you are.
It doesn't make you better, but it is interesting to think about, like, say Charles Bukowski, right?
Whom I love.
But
I
would he
own many of his books.
same. And but would Charles Bukowski be Charles Bukowski without alcohol?
Yeah, I think he would. I think
don't
his
know,
experiences would be different, but
but that's what I
he was an
mean.
asshole. Charles
He was
Bukowski was a fucking asshole.
a fucking asshole, right? But like part of the writing and who he was and how he saw the world and the experiences he had were because of how much he drank.
Yes, but I want to present to you, we will never know how much better he could have been had he not been that drinker.
Okay, that's a fair point too. That's a more than fair value.
I'm just saying,
100%.
I think it might have limited him significantly. And I love Bukowski. I will tell you now, if someone were to ask me who my favorite poet was, it would be Charles Bukowski.
Yeah.
He's the only poet where I own multiple books. So I have thought on occasion, I wonder what he would have accomplished if he wasn't such an alcoholic. I wonder. So I'm going to go back to my original grandiose statement, which is it has never made you better.
This is so true. And yeah, when I think about, the number of hours, especially as I've gotten older, spent to being laid up on my couch and nursing a hangover or yeah, like different choices. I mean, in the moment, a lot of the time it seems and feels fun, especially when because yeah, like, and there is a certain, and maybe it's because of the lifestyle that I have has led me to a number of friends that when we all get together, we're probably going to drink a lot and have a good night. It's not like, it's very rare that something like that, like never has had me and this particular friend ever had anything like this.
Right.
And there were other variables for sure. But yeah, I mean, it is just something that I'm thinking about that's really top of mind. And I see more and more people giving up alcohol. I know here in New York, I'm sure maybe, well, I don't know about Vegas, but these dry bars are opening up where they're bars but no alcohol.
Never have heard of such a thing. What the fuck? Like, yeah, no.
Well, they do it because from my understanding, and I've never been to one, I've just read about it. And I guess because this new younger generation doesn't drink like older generations, but they still want to hang out and they still want the place to like play pool or do whatever, or if they're going on a date, right? Like, and there's a lot of people who used to be alcoholics, right? Who are in AA who don't like being in bars, but like miss having the social interaction. And so now they make these really fun drinks, but just no alcohol.
I'm not opposed to it now, and I totally understand. But for someone like me, where I can go into a bar, do all the fun things you can do in a bar, and walk out 100% sober, I probably like there's moments when I'm like, you're not forced to drink in a bar. I have ordered water in a bar before. As a matter of fact, I have gone to the bartender and said, I'm going to be ordering what we like to call a dolphin. Because I learned this when I lived in Portland, Oregon, which is a glass of water in a double old-fashioned glass with a lime on it. Because then people think you're drinking.
Right.
But you're just having water.
Yeah, I knew a guy years ago who didn't drink because he gave it up after. And when we'd go out with him, he'd always get a seltzer water with a lime.
Yep. Because it's so, I mean, people will argue with you. How come you're not drinking? Because I'm not an idiot like you, motherfucker. Excuse my language. But I mean, like those people that I encounter where they're like adamant that you drink, it's exhausting, it's irritating, and then they get aggressive, and I'm just bypass all that. and it's gin and tonic. And every other time it might be a gin and tonic, right? Because I like gin and tonics. I just don't drink a lot of them. So,
Yeah.
but I support people doing things that really brings them the most joy, for sure. But I think living a long time and living a long time not with cirrhosis of the liver, or I watched my mom deteriorate from cirrhosis of the liver, not from drinking, because she probably had less than one bottle of wine her entire life, but she did have hepatitis C, and that attacks the liver.
Oh, right.
And just seeing what happened to her, and oh my God, no, thank you. The pain, the suffering, just the whole thing was way more than I want to see anybody go through, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all for people just doing what's best for them, healthy, best for them, right?
Yeah.
But good for you, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I really woke up feeling very strongly like I just need to stop, just quit. Like there's no reason for it to be in my life. There's no benefit of it. There's no, I mean, maybe there's this false sense of community, I guess. But to your point, false sense of community in the sense of, or like social,
like it's the only way to have community. That's what's false.
Not the only way to have community. I know that's not right, but like it's more of the social pressure, the social connection, the social connection with people, right? Like it's so easy to be like, oh, let's go get a drink after work, or like let's go get a drink before the game, or like it's just such, and it's like, yeah, I can still say, yeah, let's go do that and order water. Like it doesn't mean I don't, and I think, yeah. I've never really given it thought, but it's like I really don't need to drink.
Yeah.
And it costs a fuck ton, especially here.
Yeah. And here, if you're going to drink on the strip, if I drink off the strip, it's cheap. But if I happen to be on the strip, I'm like, wow, how much should we rip off our tourists? It's painful to me. It's like,
that's how the city makes its money.